cafe. Anyway. Yes, it's cafe.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
It's cafe anyway. And yes, I make that weird noise when I adjust the volume, so. Okay.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
There's probably somewhere in the settings I can go to make that disappear, but for now, I have to do this podcast here. And it's gonna be good. We're going to talk about stuff. It's hot outside, so it's kind of rough. Very rough right now in California. Some extreme heat.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
In fact, I got a little, alert from next door.
Mike's
so you know it's true.
Daily
that there's an emergency
Podcast.
Alert, extreme heat warning in California. High temperatures can be dangerous to your health and constrain our electric power grid. The good news is California has avoided outages so far thanks to people like you. And we need you to keep it up as temperatures reach triple digits throughout most of the state. Pre-cool your home before 4 p.m. After 4 p.m., turn up your thermostat to 78 degrees or higher if health permits. And avoid using big appliances like ovens and dishwashers. How about if I charge my car? Because Gavin Newsom wants us all to have electric cars. So aren't I supposed to charge my car? How am I supposed to get around if I don't charge my car? Yes, that's a good question. Very good question. And welcome to our Conundrum, California. Conundrumia, if you will. Call 211 to find a local cooling center. I have not done that yet. All right. Let's see. Should I do this live on my podcast? It's going to require me doing a couple of little tricks, but give me a second.
And here's today's podcast picture.
The podcast picture, let's make it of something from Podcaster Valley, because that's where we are today, and I've done a lot of Oakland pictures lately. So see that picture at mikesdailypodcast.com. I am sneezing because when I go from one part of my house, it's over 80 degrees. I go to another part, it's under 70. Not because of air conditioning, but because it's below ground. So that's why I'm sneezing. But here at Cafe Anyway, we're slightly underground, so it's keeping us cool. And the late great Basil the Boxer. He was great. He never met a penguin, but that's what we got, our penguins. The Penguin Air Conditioning Company is supplying all the cool air here at the air conditioning from Penguins. Penguins! When I heard Penguins was coming to town, I built this small but effective fence. Then I found out Penguins is yogurt. Guess I won't need the fence. And I have just now quoted for you a commercial that featured John Goodman in the 80s. And that's bizarre that I remember that. Okay, can I delete that? Thank you. I need to delete stuff out of my ever-crowded email account, mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. No, I got the free account from Google, so that means that I only have a limited supply. But let's see, if we call 211, what happens? I have to go to the phone. You used to be able to go straight to your phone from your Google. I guess I can't do it that way. All right, then I have to go through Bing. Not Bing, Microsoft Edge is what it is. And I have saved my Google chat number. Let's see if that works. So, by the way, if you want to call me, 336MM Daily, 3 + 3 = 6. MM as in Mike Matthews, Daily as in what this podcast is. Let's see, I'm going to press this down, and I'm going to see if this works. Let's give it a call, see what 211 has when you call it. Oh, interesting. It won't let me call 211. Then let's try through the miracle of your cell phone, Mike. Let's see what that does if we call from 211. Put it on speakerphone.
The service you are calling is not available from this location.
Did I misread something? Is it supposed to be 221? I'm thinking 911, so 221? Is this it? No results found either. I don't know. Cafe, I don't know. I tried, everybody. That's what your friendly neighborhood Mike Matthews does, is he tries to bring you that. So there is a record high greenhouse gases that were released in 2021. And I would definitely save this podcast for later in the year when it's really cold, and then you can go back and hear about all this heat. But last year saw record levels of major greenhouse gases, including carbon dioxide and methane, or as the British say, methane, released into the Earth's atmosphere, according to an international climate report called the State of the Climate Report. This was published last week in the Bulletin of the American Meteorological Society, led by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's National Center for Environmental Information, or NAMBLA. Sorry, that's a terrible joke that Jon Stewart used to do on The Daily Show back in the late 90s. He would do an acronym of some corporation, and then it would always be the acronym for the worst organization on the planet. The data represented here, that global sea level and ocean heat reached record highs in 2021. NOAA Administrator Rick Spinrad said in a statement, the data presented in this report are clear. We continue to see more compelling scientific evidence that climate change has global impacts and shows no sign of slowing. As we go outside in Cafe Anyway, we're bringing Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley.
Anyway.
The last place on Earth where it's really hot. We might end up over there at the Cull Canyon Lagoon. I think today is the last day that it's open. $4 to get in if you're an adult. And we'll go in and try and cool off. And maybe get my wallet stolen. I don't know. We'll see what happens. With many communities hit with 1,000-year floods, exceptional drought, and historic heat this year, it shows that the climate crisis is not a future threat, but something we must address today as we work to build a climate-ready nation and the world that is resilient to climate-driven extremes. And a lot of Republicans get all anti this subject because it's restricting business growth, restricting the economy, but at the same time, this was on the agenda of a Republican president at one time, Richard Nixon. He saw that there was a threat to the climate. Various companies were not following common sense and putting pollution into the air and into our streams. And he said no, started to pass some legislation for that. So it's just common sense. We don't want to hurt this earth. It's the only earth we have. As much as Elon Musk wants to fly up into the cosmos, as we all do, as Carl Sagan did, it's not anything we're going to be doing tomorrow. I mean, as in tomorrow, which is Tuesday at this point. And let's just use some common sense. Do what we can, in other words. Greenhouse gas emissions from human activities are the most significant driver of observed climate change since the mid-20th century, said the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. And this is warming the climate as they build up in the atmosphere. So this article was from ABC News via MSN. So there we go. Outside a Cafe Anyway, where it is a bit warm, trying to cool off. That's why we're all sitting in a pool right now, one of those plastic pools. I know plastic's not good for the environment, but hey, we're doing the best we can. Trying to cool off. And oh, by the way, I got an email from a guy named Jamie, or maybe it's a woman. It could be a woman. I don't know. Jamie at executivepodcasting.com. And they're telling me that the podcast production industry, that this person's been with them for 5+ years and finding several things in common with my clients when they come to us from other companies for services. So this is somebody doing production for podcasts. And Jamie is finding out that people are paying too much for mediocre services. The quality of their work, production, engineering is severely lacking. Interesting. Oh, okay. So first off, and I love that expression, first off. I don't know if anybody uses that anymore, first off. First off will be the name of my firstborn. First off, firstly, let's begin with this first topic, and that would be fake bot downloads. This is something Jamie brings up. A lot of people that put out podcasts, they claim they have these huge listenership numbers, when a lot of those numbers are fake bot downloads. And the podcast industry has not really figured out a good way yet to plow through that and see what's true and what's not. So people brag. If you become a podcaster, you can brag all kinds of numbers. You just got to be smart and be a big self-promoter. But in the end, what proves that you're doing well is when you are suddenly being spoken about by people in public and people recognize you. These YouTubers that go out and they're suddenly recognized by people on the street, that's a good sign that they're starting to get popular. Now, can they make money off of it? YouTube gives you a certain amount. YouTube took me off of their platform because I quoted something from the CDC and they thought I was trying to spread misinformation. I'm like, hey, the Central Disease Company, the Center for Disease Control, rather, or NAMBLA, they themselves said this, and the WHO, the World Health Organization, the WHO, said the same thing. So I'm just repeating what they said, and they took me off. So I don't give a hoot about YouTube. I'm on all kinds of, well, firstly, this is a podcast. So I can be on a million different platforms. I can be on Apple, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts and Music, Anchor, the podcast.com website. I could be on launch.fm, Spotify, all over. So the point is that it just, who's going to actually listen to? Who's actually going to go to Cafe Anyway and hang out with Mike under the fans, sitting in a big plastic tub of water, little pool filled with ice, trying to cool off out here? The people are providing services are not in the USA. For a lot of people that are using podcast production companies, they say, I want to do a podcast, but they want to make it sound nice. They want to make it sound as good as this one does. So what I'm basically telling you is I can do what Jamie does at this company times 20,000. And at some point I would like to leave my job, as I was talking about in the last podcast, and do that kind of work for you if you want to be a podcaster. And I think everybody deserves to be a podcaster. When I first started podcasting in 2009, I said the most beautiful thing about this new world of podcasting is that anybody can do it, and all these voices now can be heard. Now, the problem is there are a lot of voices being heard, but they're not sounding right. They're not sounding good. There's a lot of people getting into podcasting that don't have any radio experience, for example. They go from zero to podcasting, and they don't know there's some things you should do and shouldn't do to make your podcast listenable. For example, this is how most podcasters sound that are starting podcasting for the first time. And for example, they've never done radio or whatever. They're this far away from the microphone. I am literally standing on the other side of the Cafe Anyway patio. I had to get out of water. And I'm coming back to the water because it's so much cooler because it's such a hot day. And yes, that's the kind of stupid stuff they do. So, someone like me would help you with that. I would give you some instruction to make your podcast sound better. But this is a big thing. You're listening to this podcast, so you know, and you've probably listened to others, you've heard that from time to time. Now, the people providing services for these people, that are these podcasters, a lot of them aren't in the USA, so there is a communication barrier. And to say, hey, I need an answer right away, and you don't get the answer, or they don't understand the answer, or you're talking to a bot that doesn't understand what you're asking, that's not good. And then they don't respond for like 2 or more days. Oh, try emailing Apple a question, a legitimate question. Or I'm on the Odyssey app. I have asked Odyssey. They did this thing where they had my podcast on their platform. Actually, it is on the platform now, last I checked. But when you went to play it, it would just say buffering. And I checked, it wasn't my phone. It was the app. It was them. And there are a couple apps out there that they need to do work. Lots of work on their apps because they're having all kinds of, like, you'll go to the app and it never opens, or you can't get to what you want, or you can't search. They have horrible search engines, so you can't find what you're looking for, or you can't get exposed to newer or stuff that pertains to you that's not the stuff they want to push on you, that they're making money off of. Odyssey does this, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and Spotify all do this. They push stuff on you. The Apple P app. You mean the guy from Black Eyed Peas? I got a feeling that tonight's going to be a good night. It's not going to be a good night because it's going to be pretty hot. But it's going to be a hot night. I know that. So I got a feeling for that. But then the Google Podcasts and all the others trying to... Oh, Stitcher. I almost forgot Stitcher, Spreaker, all of them. The point is that you have a lot of different platforms to deal with. And are you getting on those platforms? And if you try and reach those platforms, talk to those platforms, you may not hear from them right away. Some of the really big ones, Apple, Google Podcasts, you may not hear from for a while. Odyssey eventually got back to me and they fixed the issue. And then there are episodes that some people release with senseless mistakes. Jamie writes, all of this is frustrating. This is why I've created my business with you in mind, with plans starting as low as $500 a month. We will not have a language barrier and time difference delaying communication. Our turnaround time for production is just 4 days. And you can tell that I'm legitimate because I am using proper punctuation and I'm not capitalizing the wrong words or uncapitalizing all my sentences and using bad spelling. So you know I'm legitimate. Actually, apparently Jamie's in Idaho. So I found that fascinating that I got that. Hey, we're outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth. I believe today, yes, look who it is. It would be the wonderful person that we heard an earlier version of you on the last podcast. Is that right, Mike Matthews? This is Madame Rootabega and Matthew. Yes, I was on the podcast a long time ago. Ooh. Yes, and some guy named Simon said, I love you, Madame Rootabega. So you had fans back then. That is right, Mike Matthew, and I have no fans now. Ooh. That's right. No fans now. Or maybe you do. They just haven't called us at 336MM Daily and told us because they're too busy calling 211. What's that, Michael Matthew? It's a number that doesn't exist, or it's supposed to exist and tell you where cooling centers are. I don't know. Are you hot, Madame Rootabega? Yes. Do you want to jump into a pool? Yes. Do you want to jump into this small plastic pool with me with all the ice in it? No. Okay. I don't feel hurt. Look who else is here. Hello there, Mike. This is Valentino, the parking attendant. And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that? Mike, this is all really fascinating stuff there, and it's really hot. Can we go back into the air conditioning with the penguins there? Yeah, penguins. Do you know that? Sure, go ahead. Leave me. But it's time now for Let's Go Back with Matthews. We're going to go back in time, my friend. And this is exciting. I just added this. So a lot of these characters you hear on Mike's Daily Podcast, the Cafe Anyway characters, the podcast players, they came from the Santa Fe Cafe when I was on a country station called K-Hay. And this was, so many years ago. This was little less than 10 years ago. Let's hear a little clip on Let's Go Back with Matthews.
650 KHAY.
People come from all over to shop at the wharf.
Oh, that was Dave Bradley. I worked with Dave Bradley for about 10 years. I hope he's okay. He's a good guy. He worried a lot, though. He proved to me the adage that you shouldn't worry so much. Just let it go. Like the Elsa or the Ice, whoever that was, said, you need to just relax and don't do it. Like the Frankie, like that guy said, you just need to just calm down. Like the Taylor Swift or whatever said. So, just all these people are telling you to calm down. So just calm down. Calm on down.
Inventor.
Our contestant is Nikki on her cell phone. Nikki, let's look at the quiz wall and pick a topic from our 3 panels. Panel 1 says Shania Twain derails my train of thought. Panel 2, Billy Ray Cyrus writes on papyrus. Panel 3, Chely Wright got in a belly fight.
I think I'll go with Shania Twain.
Derails my train of thought. Nikki, Shania Twain's son is named A. Asia, B. Alex, C. Ramon.
I'm gonna go with Ramon.
Oh, no. Stay on the line, Nikki. 650 KHAY. You can try and steal the prize from Nikki, but if you get it wrong, she gets a prize.
Which reminds me, I wonder how Shania Twain's child is doing. Son, daughter?
Oh, we have a minute. Let's go up to the...
All right, Thomas from Ventura going to try and steal the prize from Nikki on her cell phone. Thomas, the choices were Asia, Alex, or Ramon.
Asia.
You are absolutely correct. You got passes to Circus Chimera this week. What song?
You got tickets to a circus. They didn't care. That was a country quiz. Did you notice the music was from They Might Be Giants? I might get dinged if this is on YouTube with the They Might Be Giants music.
What you like?
Harleen.
Oh, la, la.
Somebody wanted to hear Eileen. All right, let's listen to one more clip from way back in 2003.
100.7 KHAY, this is Matt Michaels. Who's this?
Greg Cooper?
Greg?
Yeah.
Greg, the KA Cafe question, what's the latest gossip at your workplace?
Oh, man, you don't want to hear it. The latest gossip is, am I running around on my own way? You don't want to do that.
Oh, hey,
okay.
Say hi to Jeremy and Tanya.
Is, so I want to move to Arizona. I got a ranch up there, and I'm farming on a ranch here. But you know what? As long as I can hear you, Matt, I'm a happy camper.
We just heard Lone Star, my front porch looking in. Phil Vassar, Carlene. Before that, Jody Messina is on the way next. And look at this. We're going on a dance floor because Greg needs to dance.
There you go, bud.
Hey, Fernando Tony Lamas. Matu, darling, what I want to tell Greg right now is, darling, ooh, marvelous.
How are you, Fernando?
Oh, I feel great. How you doing?
Hold on. Don't hit the sack yet. Welcome to the KHAY Santa Fe Cafe. More in moments on KHAY. Step up.
Wow. We were having a little fun with that caller, as you could see. Fernando Tony Lamas was a character we had back then. And Jeremy and Tanya used to show up. Well, Jeremy worked for us, so he would just show up and be there in the studio with me. And then Tanya called just about every night. And when she got, when she had it with somebody, because I would put the callers on and just conference call her in, connect her with the caller, whoever was calling. If she didn't like them in some way, she would say "atna," and I forget what the heck that meant, but that was her code for you should hang up on him, Mike. So that was "atna." Okay, now that little bit of going back in time, hope that was amusing. See, that's what radio used to be like years ago. You'd have fun with people late at night. You'd have fun. This doesn't happen anymore because everything's pre-recorded. There's nobody's calling stations anymore because they've got all this other stuff that they can do. Like they can listen to all the apps that I was talking about earlier, or there's the Pandora type things, Slacker, all those ones. Is Last FM still around where they can listen to their own music that they want to pick? But here's two songs. Now they're still musicians that still want you to listen to them. So they send me little promotional things, and this is a segment we called the Mike Matthews New Tunes Feud. And this first song is from Enumclaw. Enumclaw. And let's listen to it. Tell me if you like Enumclaw and their song called Park Lodge.
Front door, asking why me, thinking of all the times we spent talking about our dreams.
Kind of almost sound like the Gorillaz or what's his name, Albarn guy. Okay, they are up against this one by Zoe Levin. Okay. And this is a song called I Feel Like a Loser Everywhere. Let's see what this one sounds like.
Switching clothes and taking in the view. They remind me of you.
Zoe Levin. Okay, which one did you like better? Enumclaw or Zoe Levin? Call me 336MM Daily. 3 plus 3 equals 6. MM is in Mike Matthews. Daily as in what this podcast is.
Call now. 336MM Daily.
Daily for quite a few days in a row. Wow. Now, I just got a voicemail from someone. Could it have been the 221 number or the 211 number? I wonder. Let's see. I will see what they...
You have one unheard message. First unheard message. Call list. Press 2 now. End of message. To delete.
How sad. I thought it was maybe the 211 number. Darn it. All right. Well, with more ways to reach me and tell me which song you like better in our Mike Matthews New Tunes feud, or if you'd like to chime in about the poor guy that was being harassed by Fernando Tony Lamas, or if you'd like to talk about the weather, because there's certainly a lot of interesting topics regarding the weather these days, you can reach me via this way. That will be told to you by a frame.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.
And that was FF episode 2488, 2488, 2488. And if you'd like to hear the past podcast, it's easy to do. Just go to mikesdailypodcast.com.